Okay, how about that? Yeah, so thanks to some people last week, I was playing around with a lot of my audio settings, so hopefully you hear a lot less popping now in my voice. So to those people who actually know what they're doing on OBS on Reddit, thank you very much for all of your help. Hopefully it results in a much nicer stream to listen to. But hello and welcome for, I guess, our pre 3.4 release stream. Um, Got a couple of things to show you tonight. Definitely not going to cover everything that's in this one because, like all of them, they're actually rather big. But there are some really cool things that that we've added in. So I'm happy to show it off. So why don't we just jump in and begin? First thing, thanks to one Anathema, um, he has gone through, and our iconics now have slightly more iconic art. So if you pull out Amiri, you'll see that now the token art is much nicer. That's true for all of them. I've started on rebuilding the iconics themselves. So alphabetically, I'm up to Lem, except that Korakai and Kyra were skipped. Korakai because we're still finishing polishing up some of the Oracle stuff, and Kyra because although I keep promising at every stream, we have not turned deities into objects. Still coming soon. We've just been a little bit busy, and by the end of the stream, you'll see why that's happened. On the minus side, for those of you who loved my cat being Drugami, he is no longer there, unfortunately. However, if you really, really do miss him, feel free to just bring him back by changing it to the Easter egg version. And then you can still have my cat. So yes, big thank you to Anathema for going through and making all of these. All of the iconics now have really cool art assigned to them with the whole overlapping border. A lot of love and effort was put into this. We might tweak some of the background colors still, up in the air. If you have any feedback, feel free to provide it. You can provide it directly to Anathema if you'd like, but he might stab you, so up to you. But yeah, it's definitely a step up for the system, so we're really glad to have it. Like I said, the iconics like Kyra aren't updated yet. They do have new art, but they're still the old format of the sheet. So um, up and coming, I should hopefully have the iconics done for the next iteration. But launching through into some of the really cool stuff that we've added. So the first thing I'm going to do now that I have Amiri is I'm going to assign her to my test donor. Because it's going to be important for this. So let's say Amiri is going to get into combat. We can pull out this wonderful level 8 automatic acolyte from the Battlezoo Bestiary, and let's say we've got a couple of them, and let's say they're flanking poor Amiri right here. Well, now when they go and they do their strike against Amiri, we'll see, hey, she's flanked. Her AC is dropped. Apparently flat-footed's being applied automatically, because if I move out of flanking and do the same strike, no longer hits. And you can sort of see now on our little hover text that that's what happens. So one of the cool features that we have added in is flanking detection. So we can see here that the automatic acolyte does have a reach of 15. So if we take him and put him way over here, so technically still flanking Amiri. Unless that's maybe too far. I don't know, this might, yeah. Oh, because yeah, too far. Because 5, 15, 20 feet. So at 20 feet, no hit, but at 15 feet, reach definitely works. And you can see that that's computed in. Move it out of flank, try the same attack. No difference to AC. Does gang up work too? Yes, it's been set up. I don't know that I can put gang up on a NPC, but what we can do is, well, let's grab one more of the iconics. Jarell, I don't think she has it, but we can give her gang up. I haven't actually tried this, so I'm really hoping that it works. We will find out together. Rule is written. Isn't that second? Yes. So the second diagonal works for reach 10. That is correct. But the next step out changes it from 10 to 20. So it's only the first increment of reach. So that was actually doing it correctly because the automatic acolyte had a delta of 15. So this would work at reach 5, this would work at reach 10, but this would take reach 20 for it to work. So it was doing it correctly. Now, does that work in every case? I have no idea. Keep in mind, this is our first version of it. Stuff like that is going to come out of the woodwork. In fact, I'm not sure if this is going to work. So we will target. I'll say we'll take Jarell. I haven't assigned her an actor, but I think this will work because Amiri's an actor. So she can strike. No, so Amiri, I might have to. Let me assign Jarell to a player character. So there we go. So that works for flat-footed. Let's say I move her to the side. In theory, she has gang up. And you see that gang up works. But if I try it with Amiri, Amiri should not benefit from it. Oh, and this Amiri I gave a Fashard to play with for reach. So there, reach 10. Reach 5, reach 10. Reach on the Fashard works. Again with Jarell. So flanking, still flanking. So yeah, there could still be a couple of bugs in here, a couple of things that aren't captured, but for the most part, Shark put in a lot of effort. So, if you're really upset that deities aren't in, well, you have flanking now, and flanking's pretty damn cool. So, I'm amazingly impressed that this all got done. Now, when we were looking at Amiri, you would have noticed that, hey, look, she has a Fashard. And we now have all of these buttons because we can deal with handedness. So we can change the grip. We can make two-handed weapons one-handed right here. So she's holding it. Now we aren't tracking hands actively, so we can pull out the bastard sword. Technically, right now, the bastard sword's being wielded in two-handed, but still holding the Fashard, so we can sheath it instead. It tells you the number of actions to do it. So to change it, it costs 1. To drop, it's a free action. To change grip to one-handed, it's a free action, but to go back to two-handed, it costs an action. And the icons change to let you know. And if we roll our damage, so here you can see that two-handed is triggered, 1d12. I change the grip to one-handed with the bastard sword, roll the damage, and it goes down to 1d8. Does it print the action to chat? Right now, I don't believe so. It doesn't do anything. This is more for tracking at this point. So it's definitely a first step. We don't particularly want to absolutely rigidly enforce it to start with. With automatic flanking, assume damage rolls and triggering effects that require flat-footed like sneak attack. They should. We can check that out. Let me grab Marisil, who does have sneak attack. And then I'll assign Marisil an actor, owner, and we can have her strike. That works. Roll damage, and there you go, sneak attack. So with respect to the handedness, right now we're not enforcing anything. At some point we'll probably, oh, there we go. At some point we might enforce it more rigidly or create a meta setting. That's right, if I turn on, because it doesn't matter. So if I sheath a weapon and I am in encounter mode instead of in exploration mode, you will get the option, or you will get a chat message. Should happen with handedness as well. So dropped, and then you can also then pick up or one-handed, two-handed. So there you go. So yes, we do have the status messages if you are not in exploration mode, if you're in encounter mode. Good question. Let's try that. So I do not know if that's the case. Nope. If Amiri is unconscious, then it doesn't. However, if she's prone, it should work. Oops. Seems like Shark is literally that good. Threatening, so yeah, it works because she can attack with her hand. The problem might be if you have a reach weapon applied. In theory, you'd still have to grab it. So if she was over here, and so that should be the only one that's applied. Technically, it would be dropped. In theory, Mauricio should no longer get sneak attack, which she doesn't. Pochard's picked up. She should get it again. What about stunned? I'm guessing stunned's probably not handled. But we can see. Like I said, this is definitely a first. Yeah, so stunned not handled. This is our first go around. We'll probably have a bunch of these things that aren't quite perfectly handled yet, but it is certainly robust enough that we can start trying to release this. No, so automatic flanking does work for NPCs. It just doesn't work if you don't have any assigned. So I don't want people to get in, start playing around and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. So for the NPCs here, you can see we've got Mercial flank. So if I target and do my attack, there you go. You can see that, yes, she's flanked. She's no longer flanked. So 16, 18, you hover over top, you see the flat-footed flank too. So yes, it does work for NPCs. I think in theory, if I had 3 of these guys, and I target the one in, oops, that was delete. Target the one in the middle, the flanking should apply, even though it's, no, it doesn't have the same, so it's based off of ownership. So there are some edge cases that still need a little bit of working on. So if you have 3 NPCs attacking NPCs, I mean, at that point, the GM's just playing a game by themselves anyways. Right. Another thing that I've been asked to show off. I want to say Keystrike. So I want to say, oops. Turns out if you have a spell slot, this works much better. So now we have choice sets. With Keystrike, you can choose force, negative, or positive damage. Rather than have a whole series of effects, and this isn't on everything yet, but a lot of the common ones you'll now be able to choose. So I want to do force damage, and so Mauricio now has the Keystrike force spell effect. This works for gang up pack tactics, squad tactics. Now add elemental fist. Oh, so demanding. Which I will have to remove. And then we'll throw it back on. And you can see now with Elemental Fist, you now have a whole range of even more. So that was one big one. Next one that we've got coming up, a lot of people have seen Samsira's really, really cool dice. So if you happen to be using Dice So Nice, we're planning on adding this in. Whether this makes it in for this release or next release, I'm not sure. But if we go into our module settings for Dice So Nice, which I think I actually turned off because I was testing something, so we'll turn it back on. So we can now go into our settings for Dice So Nice. And nope, I broke it. You'll be able to select from the presets a standard from both standard and your faces and your custom, the 3 different dice sets that have been added in. So look for those. They'll probably be bundled, but not quite yet. The other cool thing that has been added in, and I'm not didn't display it quite yet, not because it wasn't worthy of being displayed during the demo, but because it's not entirely finished. This is a module for now. A lot of this is probably going to end up in the core system itself, but Doracco's done a really cool series of updates. So here we have light mode. You can see the rounded buttons. There's a bunch of chat card automation, things that are hidden, things that are not. You can see the styling looks really nice. The buttons look really nice. So eventually a lot of these things are going to make it into core, but it's sort of the next level up of trying to polish some of the UI elements. It will be optional. We should be able to make it able to be disabled when we move it into core, but it's something that's coming. Right now, the reason that I don't have it on normally is because for the handedness, because this is so new, it hasn't been integrated yet to the module, which hopefully pieces of it will go into core. Not everything will go into core from the module, so Doracco's module will still exist if you want to do a lot of customization, but a lot of the base features we're planning on putting in. Things like the really cool rounded buff bar icons, as well as some of the chat card styling. We'll see what fits and what doesn't, some of the color issues, but I like that he has added in a dark mode. So it's not everything yet, but it will convert things over just to change it up a little bit and sort of make the system look a little bit nicer. I think those are all the really, really big things that I wanted to demo for you today. Last thing I want to do is show you something that's really cool that came out of sort of a challenge on the Foundry developer stream. So one of, or not the developer stream, the developers chat. So this is a piece of art made by an 11-year-old named Megan in Newport Beach. So it looks kind of cool. It's a nice little pencil drawing, but you know, ask yourself, what can Foundry do for you? So let's start by putting in a couple of walls. I'll just sort of, I'm going to wall around the eye. So there we go. We've set up some walls. Maybe I'll change this, move this a little bit in. So we're going to make a dragon. So let's make a blue dragon. So for blue, go. And so that's blue. It's a little bit intense. I think that looks about right. So that doesn't look too bad. Let's do an eye. Oh, I know what I wanted to do here. Just want this to be dim. We don't want this to be too bright. That's not bad coverage. So the light in the middle. And then probably set the scene. Let's make it dark. That looks a little bit better. Then let's highlight in the eye. So we'll make a nice little eye sparkle. So and then a little highlight at the bottom of the eye. And so there you go. We have Foundry Photoshop. Not bad for an eye painting. And then if you're really good, um, this is the one that was done slightly better than I did. But with this one, there was a cool macro. Very simple. 14 lines long. I only use it on this one instead of mine because it's already got the IDs for the lights, but it's just defining the colors red, blue, gold, and all it's going to do is change it from one color to another. So there we can have a red cobalt instead. With a little bit of an effect applied, you can have a swirling eye. Um, so just some of the cool stuff that you can do with Foundry. That's kind of amazing. With all of 10 walls and 7 lights, you can take an 11-year-old's black and white pencil drawing of a dragon's eye and turn it into something that looks like that in seconds. Literally, the person who figured out how to do this off of a dare did it in under 15 minutes and had no idea when we were starting how to do it. So a very cool thing to see. Um, so let's see if I can go through if there's anything else. Anyone has any other questions, feel free to drop them in. I just got here. Can you start over? No, I can't. Sorry. Seeing as you added most of this stuff to the system, I demoed all the handedness stuff. I probably did a horrible job, so you should have been here to help me out. Yeah, so already we have a merge request for people who said, we're stunned. It'll be in the release apparently because the developers are literally just that insane. The funnest moment in your recent games. Oh, I, I'd love to answer that question, but if you're playing Abomination Vaults, it would be a horrible, horrible spoiler. Um, I can answer very generically some of the fun stuff that's happened lately. Relatively recently, anyone who knows Florad or Florian, who's the developer of the Savage Worlds system, he happens to be playing in my PF2e game for Abomination Vaults. He's playing a champion of Caden Kalen. One of the things that they like to do is go to in town. There is a tavern slash shrine to Caden Kalen, who is that is uh, owned by a Tengu named Megaloy. He's been going there to apprentice to learn how to make things, and Megaloy likes to let people sample any of his very strange concoctions. Well, this champion of Caden Kalen tried one of these things, critically failed a fortitude save, spent the next 10 minutes confused and destroying the bar, lost all of his powers as a champion, and had to go in atone. Because that's the sort of cool stuff that you can do in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. A lot of what I've been doing lately has been testing out a bunch of these things. You know, it's really just sort of exciting to develop. This coming week, I will be doing some demos because there are some of the developers of from Paizo who would like a little bit more of an introduction, we'll say, to Foundry. It's a good opportunity for me to show them where their design and development really hurts us with VTT automation. Because as talented as people like Fry Guy and Soup and Shark That Walks Like a Man are, they create such ridiculously knotted rules that it's really hard to do things. So if I can point that out, maybe they'll be a little bit kinder. Um, I've just got my copy of Quest for the Frozen Flame, the physical book, today, and I got the PDF delivered yesterday. And one of the data entry people was very happy to point out that I'm like, there's this possible issue coming up, but I don't think Paizo will do it, and we'll let them know so they won't do it. Yeah, it's already in that book. Quest for the Frozen Flame 2 now has a new thing that we have to account for in the system, so a little bit painful. um, will the other character sheets be tweaked during the UI update? Sir Lars a lot. I'm not sure what you mean about the character sheets being tweaked during the UI update. If you mean things like hazards, it's on our roadmap. We're playing around with them. We want to change them up, but it's something that takes a lot of work to try and get the visual impression in the UI right. Ah, well, Frygay brings up a fun one. So part of what I do in Abomination Vaults is I use a modified fate system. Angry GM wrote something about how to make time pressure, especially in a dungeon crawl. And so I use fate die to accomplish that. It's similar, but not the same. So they can have something bad happen, something good happen. Uh, my group managed to have a random encounter when the dice were against them to fight Dweomer Cat. Super fun creature to add in if you are playing Abomination Vaults. Uh, this particular creature knows how to teleport and happened to like tasting the blood of those who are the arcane. Frygay happens to be playing a sorceress in that game. After being attacked several times, there was a small bathroom that they'd explored, and Frygay, trying to get away from the Dweomer cat, decided to run and lock themselves inside the bathroom, which is fine unless, say, the person who you're running away from happens to be able to cast Dimension Door as an innate spell. Uh, so the Dweomer cat teleports in and with its final action strikes the poor sorceress, and who goes unconscious, but the rest of the group came in to finish off the Dweomer cat and save the sorceress for another day. Is flanking working with hexes? I have literally no idea. I feel like there is some issues with hexes that we haven't resolved. My gut says no. I don't really want to pull out and try and do a hex scene in the middle of the demo. So the answer is a very solid maybe. So this might be more of a Foundry thing, but it would be possible to reduce the second column of icons on the left. A lot of new users seem to have a problem with figuring out that the second column is a submenu. I can see how that's a thing. Yes, it is definitely a Foundry issue. There are modules that can change its behavior. I'm not sure if there's any out that out and out do that. Um, Something that you can suggest to Dorako is a way to sort of fold it in and out potentially. Like if you click on it, it'll expand out or something like that to make it clear. I don't know. It's a good UI UX point, but again, it's something that the system itself isn't going to change. It's something that either Foundry Core will have to do or something that a module will have to do, because we try and be hands off with that. So what's the familiars? I don't know what you want to see with familiars. I did familiars on the last stream. Yeah, as a first iteration, it is quite nice. So Blueburn32, if you do notice certain things that stop flanking from working and aren't coded in, feel free. I want to say that I have this feeling that the rogue feat deny advantage. I think that's coded in and that works, so it does check the levels to see if it can be flanked that way. Oh, do we have a new familiar sheet? Have I been paying not that much attention? Oh, we can create a familiar. I'll go back here. I don't think I've got the. I don't know that Amiri is the greatest person for me to have used, but oh, that's right. We do have the new one. So yes, you can roll attacks, even though that's useless, and then it will key uh, off of the originating the person. You have the saves. I don't know if there's anyone better. Oh, there we go. Fea. Obviously, she should be able to. Does flanking take walls into account? Good question. No idea. Did you show off the new familiar sheet last stream? No, I think it's actually in this update. I just forgot because it was early enough and I've been a little bit out of it lately. I haven't been able to do my normal due diligence. Is there a plan for a card deck with hero points cards, or is this something we need to work on? If you want the cards the way that they're meant to be, it's not built into the system yet because we haven't done anything with cards. The hero point deck is in here if you want to use it just as a roll table. So you can roll on it, but you can't use the variant where you just sort of stick it up on the screen. So it's all the information's in here, but it is not done up as a deck. I've noticed a move away from macros towards more rule elements. Is this deliberate? Absolutely, it's deliberate. The more that we can have done on the system side, the less that you need to use macros, the better off it is. Especially because, for a lot of macros, we'd rather you sort of use the auto macros, like Amirian, the rage effect. So, she's got, she has rage as an activity. So there's the rage effect. You can drag it down to the macro bar and then turn it on and off. It's just easier this way. If you do it this way, the auto macro itself just refers back to the system compendium, which means that if we upgrade the rage macro, you don't have to change the macro that you already have programmed in. It's one of the sort of quality of life things that we've been trying to add into the system. Something that's coming that if you're building a PC or an NPC now, it's on the developer's mode. If you want to update, there's going to be, it won't be here because I don't think I've got it turned on with this, but up here, they're in developer mode, is a button that will let you refresh. So it'll pull the newest copy of whatever you're looking at, whether it's a weapon or a feat, from the compendium and put it on your character. So it'll sort of auto refresh. We have envisioned that eventually, once we're certain it works and works well, you'll just be able to do that. It'll only be with newer actors because what's happening now is all of the items that we put in have embedded metadata that refer back, whereas the original ones would just make a copy onto your character, and there'd be no way to reference back because the ID itself would change once you put it onto an actor because it creates a local copy. Now with the metadata, it'll be able to use that metadata to replace the local copy. So things from a long time ago won't work. The new iconics that I'm building will definitely work, which is nice for me because this should be the last time that I've got to rebuild them. Is it possible to automate something like Fearsome Brute with rule elements? I have no idea what Fearsome Brute is. So the answer is maybe. You gain a circumstance bonus to damage rolls for strikes against frightened creatures. I think it probably is, just not quite yet. Being able to refer to targets and to origins is something that we're doing. I don't know that we can pull all the information. One of the other devs who can answer for sure is welcome to hop into chat and answer that. So remaking it for 3.2, you might be okay. We might have had the metadata included by then. I can't remember. It's around then when we brought it in. Update all old actors. It's not going to hurt. It's something that we'd love. If we add a sword and make a fancy rule and make fancy rule element changes, will we get reverted to a default sword on the refresh? Yes, yes, it will. Because yes, you'll be pulling it forward. Most of the things that you would change that you would want to pull forward would be because you put runes on it. Well, I have hopeful news, not good news in that it's done, but one of the things that we're looking at is changing things like runes to be drag and drop. So you have a sword, you have something else with a rune, you drag the rune from the one item or from the rune stone, it'll be on, then it'll do all of the things, and the runes will act as an item within the item. So you can drag it on, drag it off, and the rune itself would then apply the rule element. So if you'd refresh the base object would become updated, but it would still have the rune with the rule element. And if you update the rule element rune, then that would work too. But those things would be separate. So that would still layer and work. And there's probably a way that if you used embeddable objects, which don't exist yet, that's something on the horizon that will happen soon, then there you go. So I'm not promising it's going to happen anytime soon. It's a very, very difficult problem. A lot of these are. But it's something on the roadmap. I'll say that. I'm not sure what is harsh on CPUs. Other than that, any more questions from the chat? So if there aren't any, then thank you all for attending. Hopefully you found it enlightening and there's some cool stuff. Any news about deities? Not quite yet. Soon. Next release or two, it's going to have to happen sooner rather than later. I'd like for it to be the next release, but as I'm the one not coding it because you don't want me coding anything as we've learned tonight, uh, it will happen when we have time. It could have happened, but instead we did the really cool flanking stuff. So, I mean, if you would prefer that over the flanking, then I'm sorry, but I think the flanking is really super awesome and something that I'm excited to show off. uh, when will us IWR miners get to unionize? I have no idea, but I can say that on the next stream I will have my Paizo Union T-shirt because well, a sweatshirt. I just ordered one from Redbubble, so it should show up sometime next week. When will this update come out? Soon. We're working on the last bug fixes. As you may have heard literally on the stream, Shark just went and fixed it so Stunned will now work with our flanking. That's how quickly we're developing. It should come out tonight. That's the plan because I want to run on it tomorrow, and I'd rather not install the development branch because that's an extra step for me, and I don't want to do that. So I am very self-interested in getting the release out today. We have to do a lot of changelog entries, like every single update, but that's coming. Are character level up changelogs being considered? I don't know what you really mean by that, so maybe not really. Um, there might be a way at some point where we say what's happening, but it's a lot to track and it adds a lot of metadata that I don't know is particularly useful. Maybe we'll look forward when we get the last pieces in to get a little more charactermancy, things like the ability score upgrades or similar. So yeah, other than that, hopefully tonight or early tomorrow we'll get this release out the door. I know it's a day later than our normal Friday release, but to be honest, all the developers were good enough to accommodate my schedule because yesterday I would not have been able to do a release or a changelog video. So not to say that the release schedule goes off of my personal life, but it's kind of helpful. Well, I hope that you update modifier matters because I really like it. What would be even better is if we just got modifier matters into the core software. Not that I'm dropping a subtle hint. Are there new tokens in the system? You mean these icons? Yes, yes they are. This will be what it looks like when the release comes out. The old ones will all be gone, so it'll have the nice backgrounds, the little overdone stuff. I want to say Anathema spent probably 7 or 8 hours just making tokens just for PF2e. So if you do see them, give them a thanks because they are gorgeous. I even had audio queued or music queued up, so I can turn it on. It was supposed to be nice music for the stream, but I forgot to put it on. Once again, Michael Gelfie's amazing audio. So here's the Noble Gardens track, which I thought would have been very nice and sort of relaxing for my video. So obviously I forgot to turn it on because I need a checklist. Any recent features that people might not be aware of existing? I try not to hide things. All the big flashy stuff I throw into these videos. So if you've watched the last series of videos, you've got a good idea of the changes in the system. There's lots of data entry changes. I highlighted a bunch of them in the last video. Bestiary 1 being complete's a big one. We're doing some cleanup now on Abomination Vaults. I think there's some I think Age of Ashes is done or almost done from the data entry side. The iconics being updated. Like I said, I've got half of them done. If I was a little less lazy, the other half would be done. I'll stick my neck out and promise that for the next release, I'll have the iconics finished. Assuming that deities are in, that will include Kyra and Sela. If they're not, then they might not be done. I think the barbarians are going to get another quick little refresh. So if you've got a barbarian in the next release, you might want to drag your features back on. Yes, it is a learning curve, but our Adam Dane, feel free to hop on the Discord if you have any questions, because I think once you start working with it, it's Foundry is definitely a step to get into, but once you're in, I think that there's a lot of offloading, especially if you're GMing, that happens that you'll very much appreciate. And if you haven't yet discovered PDF to Foundry and the importer for the system, you might want to take a look at that. I think there might even be an Age of Ashes map pack as well. It doesn't cover everything, but there's definitely some updated maps. Can you see the Dragon Eye again? Sure, why not? Does auto flanking support 3D height calculations? I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but that's a really huge mess to try and sort out. That looks a little better. Get rid of that little dim area at the bottom. PDF to Foundry needs just to get the tokens from the battle cards now. That would be a lot of work, and I think I would end up doing it, so don't hold your breath. Yeah, so for the baked-in secret door markers, you're going to have to talk to Paizo about that, because that's just the Paizo maps. Either that, or I know for a fact that there's a bunch that, like, there's a whole series of maps that have been brought out on Reddit. I thought that maybe there was a module for Age of Ashes maps. Otherwise, there is an Age of Ashes thread on our Discord in some section in the AP hub. There's an Age of Ashes section. If you ask in there, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would happily help you out getting some of the maps up to snuff. Unfortunately, Paizo baked on the S's in a bunch of different maps, and there's not much we can do about it because it's just the image we have to work with. PDF to Foundry literally just rips from the PDF, so we can't do anything better than what is in the PDF. Absolutely, Narchi's maps are amazing. I don't think I have them installed on here, but I've been using them for Abomination Vaults. I love them. And I will say, Narchi was very kind to me, even though he wanted to play Malevolence, because I begged and pleaded. He made the Malevolence map pack specifically for me. So he said that he won't be doing more of the APs because it's a lot of his time and effort. And so please, everyone, respect that. But if you're playing any of the ones where he's redone the maps, they're absolutely gorgeous. They've definitely set a bar that anyone who wants to publish maps for Pathfinder 2e is going to have to meet or exceed, just because that's what the community expectation is now. Original PSD files when that is something that the volunteers will never be able to distribute. Well, hopefully, our Adam Dane, we will eventually get products for purchase. Then everything will be set up, walls and lighting, with the best quality we can manage, tokens and token art that's more than just ripped, nice looking journal entries. I mean, there's so much that people who could content create for Foundry could do. I feel like, you know, with Fantasy Grounds or Roll20, you will get the PDF done up so that things are on a scene. With Foundry, I feel like if something commercial comes out, you are going to get a full-on immersive experience. So fingers crossed that will be soon. So with that, if there are no more questions, I will leave you all for the evening. I'll see you in a couple weeks for probably the 3.5 release. I'll say that deities will be in, and we have no idea because I've said that for the past two. I can say that a whole bunch of other stuff will be in, and I will be wrong yet again. and then there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that's put in that I can't even guess right now. So it'll be a surprise for you, and it'll be a surprise for me. The roadmap is up on the on our system release for what it's worth. It hasn't changed in a while. Maybe I should probably keep it a little bit more up to date, but honestly, it's kind of fun to surprise both you and me every 2 weeks figuring out what's actually going to be done. So to all, I wish a very pleasant evening, and yeah, see you in a couple weeks. Enjoy and expect release very, very soon. Thanks for coming out.